Hello, my name is Naomi Hilmer, and today I will be presenting on how Reza has inspired my photography. For a little bit of background information, Reza is a renowned photojournalist who started his career in 1970. According to an interview by NPR, he had stated that he witnessed a demonstration outside of his office one day, and among one of the demonstrators was a photographer. And a quote I pulled from this interview was, "This was a moment that really changed my life. The day after, I was on the street starting to take photographs, and day after day, I just forgot to return back to my office." As far as his training goes, he didn't declare himself a real photojournalist until 1979. And when he was 22, he finally realized the gravity of what some of his photographs can have. And he was arrested for his photographs, and he spent 3 years in jail before being forced into exile in 1981. Since then, he has resided in France, covering over 100 countries and working for major publications like National Geographic. Some of his philosophies are that he's a philanthropist, an idealist, and a humanist. While also being a photographer, he works with women and children in conflict-ridden societies to teach them the language of images. He holds a lot of photo workshops in these types of places and teaches people how to take photographs like he does. He also continues to work with refugees and urban youths in Europe and other places around the world. This is another quote that I pulled from another interview that he had about why he does this work with people like that. And another quote I thought really summed up some of his philosophies was this one, taken from an interview right before he was going to talk about his new book, War and Peace, in 2008. And it says, "If I'm in a war zone, it's not because I want to photograph the war. I'm photographing what the population is suffering because of the war. This is one way to contribute to the future of people in the world." And as far as his milestones and awards go, he founded the Anna World in Afghanistan. He works in multiple international medias such as National Geographic, Time Magazine, Stern, Newsweek, El Pas, and Paris Match. He also is the author of multiple books like War and Peace, as I stated before, and 30 plus others, some of which are just photography books, others are actual stories, and they're just really interesting to read through. He's also been in 250 photographic exhibitions around the world. His work has also been recognized by World Press Photography. He's received the Infinity Award, as long as a lot of other awards, and France has also appointed him the Chevalier of the National Order of Merit. As far as the work that he does that influences me, these are a few photographs that I really found inspiring. One of these photos is the silence I found on his portfolio. And one of the interesting things about his portfolio is that there aren't any captions or timestamps for any of these pictures. But I think that's what's so unique about his photography, is that it's so timeless. And this one, I think, was rightfully put into the soul category because a lot of these pictures were portraits of people from all around the world. And this one really spoke out to me just because you can really see the emotion in this man's eyes. And I think that is something really important as a photographer, to be able to express that emotion through the lens. And the details on his face and everything just really show the viewer what his life might be like. This one I also thought was really interesting. It's from the category of breathe, that I think he used a lot of different kinds of shutter speeds for these photos. Obviously, this one was super fast and was able to capture this really decisive moment that I think he's also very good at finding. And this one just really spoke to me because of the silhouette and the way that this person's clothes are like in the background. I just think it was a really beautiful composition, and it's something that I strive for in my own photos. The human walk comes from his light category that I also thought was really interesting because I've had an assignment like this in the past. And I just thought this was a very interesting way to depict people, because it's not an actual person who's being depicted in the photo, but you can still see the way that they're walking, and it still invokes some sort of emotion that you would get when you see a person. So even if it's not an actual picture of a human, he's still able to convey that feeling. This picture I also thought showed how diverse his photographs can be. Not only is he a great portrait photographer, but he's also amazing at landscape and light painting. And this one I just thought was really beautiful because of the way that he had framed it in the composition. And I think it really has to show what kind of photographic eye he has when he sees a room in a beautiful landscape outside and is able to depict that so well. And lastly, this was probably one of my favorite photos that he took, called Circle of Faith at the Mecca. I just thought it was very telling of what the Mecca really invokes. It's a place where lots of people hold very holy, and you can see that here with the sheer amount of people circling the Mecca and the way that he had used the shutter speed to show the movement that actually goes on around it. As far as my photographic style goes, I strive to be a lot like him. Obviously, I'm still a beginner, but some of the things I focus the most on are faces and emotion, capturing moments that aren't always seen by the naked eye, like long exposures or extreme close-ups. And I also like to depict everyday life. I mean, as a photojournalist, I think that's something that's really important, is to be able to show what the life of somebody else is like just through photos. And I'm also interested in playing around with some lighting and making something that could be mundane more interesting to look at. In conclusion, I think Reza's photojournalism provides a look into countries all over the world, and he really doesn't shy away from the hardships that people go through or even the beauty that he can find around the world, like spirituality and nature. I think his unique way of depicting life in all of its aspects is truly inspiring, especially to somebody like me who's wanting to become a photojournalist. If you want to see more about him, you can visit his webpage at reza.photo, or you can check out my work at naomihomer.wixsite.com. And these are my sources. Thank you.